So Joe's with me today. We're going to talk Epic Universe, specifically behind his press trip there. I think you booked some Delta flights, maybe buy now, pay later on airlines. Should we be doing that? All of that coming up right now on MTM Travel. So Joe, thanks for joining me. Mark is off this week, so you get to come in and talk all about Epic Universe. But from a different perspective, we're going to do miles and points perspective. Big plug. We did a whole episode of Disney Deciphered with Leslie, you and me, talking all about Epic Universe in the nerdy sort of Disney nerd fan sort of way. But maybe we'll take a little bit of a different approach here.
Sounds good. Glad to be back. I hope Mark is off somewhere fun or at least resting and indulging heavily.
I think he's enjoying his first times up in the cottage. Memorial Day weekend coming up. I didn't realize that, so we have to record on Monday, so I'm making him record from his cottage next week as I get ready to head to Europe, but should be fun.
Yeah, good for him. That cottage, still jealous that he's got that thing. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, so it's been a while since you've been on the show. We did our first episode of the Shawn and Joe show in the Diamond Lounge. We have to figure out when we're going to do the second episode of that. That was sort of previewing Epic Universe, which is a little weird considering today's topic, but yeah, that's been fun. So shout out to all the Diamond Patreon peeps out there. But miles and points related before we get into Epic Universe, and I'm going to try to get you to unveil a little behind the scenes here from what it's like to be a travel agent, an influencer, a press person, all of the above at these types of things. But what have you been up to? How are things been going?
Things are going well. Outside of this Epic Universe preview, I have been trying to lock down my plans for the summer. I think on the last episode I was on here, I discussed that my family is planning to go to Japan. We're meeting some friends. And so I think I talked about booking the Hyatt House Shibuya on a family rate. If not, the short of that is the family rate is you get 50% off a second room for ostensibly your children to put them in there. The occupancy rates are so low in Asia that we were going to need it no matter what because we're a family of 5. What we actually did is we are traveling with another family of 4, so there's 9 of us. And so I was able to book a family rate so that my friend's family didn't have to book 2 rooms. And I think we're going to put all the tween teen girls together in their own room, and then the rest of us will stay. So Hyatt family rate, still great. I am still, I booked everything with cash technically, but my plan is hopefully as we get closer in, points availability opens up, and then I will get at least 1 or 2 of those nights on points. Regardless, I really like the location of the hotel, and I was looking at the Hyatt Regency, but it was like way too far out there, and just we have a limited amount of time, so I thought it was going to be much more better to be central.
Yeah, I like that location too. I haven't stayed at the Shibuya property, but I know it's relatively new, and Hyatt should thank you for constantly talking about the family rates because I don't know anybody else who talks about them and utilizes them, and you've had some great values. I remember, was it the Park Hyatt Auckland? You did the same thing, and I think a few other times that you've talked about it as well. Last minute planning, that's the way to go. You weren't here, but I talked about how I just finally got our flights to Europe for our June 10th cruise last week. Got Las Vegas to Frankfurt on Discover Airlines by Lufthansa. Direct from Las Vegas to Frankfurt. So that is like the most exciting thing. I'm only about 50% done planning the trips, a few hotels I don't have, but basically I have most everything I need, I guess, before I land on the ground. There'll still be some holes, but that gives me flexibility. We're doing a road trip through Germany, Switzerland, stuff like that before we head down to Venice and then on to the cruise. I think we're going to do 12 countries during this trip. Very excited for just kind of show my daughter a lot of the stuff. She hasn't seen a lot of these areas of Europe, and doing a road trip in Germany, Europe, I haven't done that. I've always been a train person there, so I'm excited for that as well.
Yeah, I really like driving in Germany. You'll have a lot of fun. I'm not a thrill seeker, Need for Speed type of person, so like I don't really care about the Autobahn not having a speed limit or whatever, but it's fun to drive in Germany. We've done that. And then we are actually in Japan going to drive around. We're going to Hokkaido. So yeah, I've kind of been doing it your way, Shawn, in the sense that like we came up with like where we're going, and I booked some hotels first in the middle, and then I didn't book flights. I still haven't finished booking flights, and we have a little bit of open. I'm not going to be as last minute as you are, but we're going in less than a month and a half, and I still don't have a flight home yet. But we're going to be driving around in Hokkaido, which is the northern island of Japan. So if you look at a picture of Japan, there's like the gigantic island in the middle. That's Honshu. And the Hokkaido is up north. My wife needs some cooler weather, and it's going to be so hot in Tokyo and Kyoto when we're there that we're going to spend some time in a cooler place. And so we're going to rent a car. We have one place that we're going to stay. We're going to restay at the spa where we went for our 10-year anniversary, but we're going to bring our kids there as well. So they have an onsen. So our kids are going to get to experience that. My son is like really pumped about that. Is the type of person who takes scalding hot showers. So I think a hot sauna is going to be, hot spring bath is going to be perfect for him. But then we're going to drive around and we need to fill in 3 days of hotels. And the other thing is I don't technically have a flight to Japan yet, Shawn. I only have a flight to Asia.
I mean, it all works. We don't have a flight home from Europe for our cruise. I'll figure it out. There are a lot of options. And I mean, I think it's harder, premium cabin, a lot of seats. I'm still finding tons of, if you're just somebody who likes to fly in economy, I feel like this is a good world to live in because there is a lot of economy space. Premium cabins get a lot harder when you're trying to find multiple seats, but last minute is when it opens up. I guess speaking of talking about driving in Japan, in Europe, you don't really need an international driver's permit or license, as far as I understand. I've driven in parts of Europe. I've done Spain and other stuff, but most of those countries are fine. Japan is notorious for wanting that, right? The international driver's permit, which is basically a translation document of your driver's license. You can get it at AAA, I think is the place I know to get it at. Are you planning on doing that? Is that still required in Japan?
Shawn, I know there's a reason why I like coming on this podcast. Just as you were saying that, I was like, oh yeah, gotta do that. The buses are great in Hokkaido. I actually looked into the infrastructure, but I just want to drive for the control freakness of it. And I really like driving around in different countries. But great point. Just put it on my task list. Go to AAA, get that international driver's permit because you need it. I got it last time. We drove around Hokkaido last time. Actually, last time it was way scarier because we actually had to drive. I ended up driving through a blizzard. Luckily, I'm used to that kind of stuff because we were there in February. In July, it's going to be much more mild, of course. So going to get that international driver's permit. And I teed it up. Don't you want to know where I'm flying into Asia? And I did book premium cabin over to Asia.
I mean, I feel like I should know this. Like you've probably said it before, but
I have not. I have not. So you're innocent this time.
I mean, we have what? Korea. We have Hong Kong. I mean, I would get the easy guess would be Hong Kong, but I'm gonna get Seoul.
I really wish. I'm going to Seoul. You got it. So
wow.
So what happened was Spencer, who I talk about the family rate and I talk about Spencer's straight to the points award alerts. He sent this thing out about how Delta One had on Delta Metal, so not as exciting, 115,000 one way for Delta One to Asia. My kids were really like bugging me. They're so spoiled. They're really bugging me to fly at least one way in business. Probably going to end up booking the flight home just in cash in economy or something like that. But they were bugging me about booking it. I saw Delta One. I still have like all these leftover Delta miles from, again, spoken about it so many times on this podcast, transferring to Delta when I thought American Express was going to shut my account down. So I was like, why not? Let's do it. I was able to get 5 seats. So we're going to be flying to Seoul. And then we thought about staying in Seoul for a night or two. But then I realized that Incheon Airport is over an hour by train away from Seoul itself. And so we just decided, okay, it's much easier to fly to Sapporo from, which is the main city in Hokkaido. Like it's only a 2-hour flight from Seoul to there. So instead of going into Tokyo, because if we were going to go fly, we can't get to Sapporo directly from the United States. So we were going to have to make a connection anyway in Tokyo. So why not make a connection in Seoul? And we're flying through Atlanta too, though. Mark's favorite airport. So wish us luck. We're flying Atlanta in the summer. We'll see. It's very late at night that we're transiting through Atlanta, and so I'm hoping that all the thunderstorms will be done by then.
Yeah, you're always risking your life there. Incheon is a great airport, especially the new terminal there, but you're right, it's so far from the city. It makes it really hard to just pop in for a day or two. It's kind of exhausting. Good train connections directly into the city, good bus connections too. I remember I took on my last trip the bus directly from the airport to what they call like the city airport. I forget what they had a really interesting name for it, but basically it's a bus terminal in the middle of the city near Gangnam, and it was right across the street from the Park Hyatt. but it was a place where you could check in for all the airlines, check in for your flights. They took all of the stuff. Then you get on the bus to the airport, but also direct trains. So yeah, Seoul good, but not easy to do that. I think it's exciting, and I think kind of opening people's eyes, putting it together a different way. Like think of, oh, I have to fly into Tokyo to get to Sapporo, but no, you don't, because there's other flights. And yeah, exciting. And 5 business class seats. I'm also on the thing where I don't want my kids flying business class or my daughter flying business class every time. And I'm also balancing that out with my desire to fly business class and be comfortable, which is true. It's not about, I don't really care all that much about the experience. It's like I'm flying to Frankfurt. It's not the nicest seat in the world. It's Lufthansa's business class. You know, there's much better seats. But I mean, a lie fly bed, a direct flight, I mean, that's heaven.
My kids are old enough that I can throw them in the economy. And it's like, so I think the other reason why I jumped on it is as time has gone on, it's just harder and harder to find 5 business class seats for anything. So I was like, okay, we're flying all the way to Asia, probably won't be back there for a couple of years. Let's just do this. But the kids are honestly, they're at the age where I can just stick them in economy. So I could always, if I can find 1 or 2 business class seats, put myself and my wife up there and then throw the kids in economy. Of course, the way you have to do that, if you're planning on doing this sort of thing, is you'd have to ticket myself and a child for business and then my wife and the other 2 children for economy, but then make them all sit in the back by themselves. You know, my oldest is 12 now. She can definitely handle it, and she can watch those too.
Yeah, it's harder when you have just 3 because you have a child. It's hard to put a single child back there by themselves, but it'll happen. She'll get to that age. I don't know, but I'm okay flying, you know, if we do a limit. At the end of the day, I'm happy to go places, and if I have to fly economy, I'll do that, and I don't worry too much about it as much as other people do, and it's a great benefit and a blessing, and yeah, it's great. I mean, it's amazing to be able to take these trips, like you say, and the expense of whether it's 3 people, 5 people, it adds up really quickly, and we're able to do a lot more than we ever would with miles and points. And even in your case where you're spending more cash for these family rates or filling in things, it's still a huge, huge discount on what you would do. And probably, I'm just guessing, you wouldn't be doing nearly as much of this stuff if you didn't have the points to kind of offset everything.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, cash is fungible. We could use cash for the stuff at home and stuff like that if we didn't. But realistically, it's nice to just, we're only paying cash for 1 of our flights. And then we're going to get some points hotels, you know, just for a couple of things. You know, I think that really pays off over time. And then the other thing we're doing is, you know, I was in charge of the Tokyo hotels, which ended up being pretty expensive. But then we're just staying at whatever hotel my friend's family, they're used to staying at in Kyoto, which is like a smaller hotel. It's not a chain or anything. I looked into all the chains, but you know, when you're traveling with others, it's more about like, are you together or not? So we're just going along with them. And so we are. And then the other thing we're doing is we're tacking on a trip to Universal Studios Japan, but the wives aren't going because they're not interested and stuff like that. So, you know, I think the nice thing about traveling with another family, and when you travel with friends, it becomes less about the miles and points and more about being together. The miles and points has given us some flexibility to make the trip make more sense. But, you know, ultimately we just want to be with our friends.
Yeah, finding friends you can travel with, that's a huge blessing. And I think something that's maybe not talked about enough in the space. I think we've all traveled with people that you just don't jive with, or people who are a little overbearing. I think that's the big problem, having traveled a lot and travel with people. I clearly have my way of doing things. I've traveled a lot, but I'm usually, when I'm with other people, I completely surrender all of that. And I just sort of go with the flow. And I like other people who do the same thing. I feel like a group consensus can be happened. Or, you know, I have my good friend Dave, who I travel all over with. We've done backpacking through China. We've gone everywhere together, and we're very good at, you know, give and take, and it works really well together. But when you have a friend who doesn't do that, or somebody who's, and I see this in group trips, I've seen this with family and friends, and you take trips and you have that one type A person who's just trying to do it. It does not work on a group trip. It might work for your little family if you're the head of your family and you're making them go everywhere. It probably won't work then because the kids will cry and backlash against you. But it does not work when there's other adults. Just go with the flow, have fun, and yeah, going a guy's trip out to Universal Osaka. Come on, that's amazing.
I've talked to friends who are like, yeah, I traveled with so-and-so and we hit it off so well that we probably would not have remained friends in real life, especially after they moved or whatever. But because we travel so well, we've become travel friends. So I do think when you find, and this is a family we've traveled with multiple times. Actually, our first time to Japan, we traveled with them when they were pregnant with their first kid. So it was just 4 adults and a half, I guess, at the time. And, once you find people that you're comfortable traveling with, it's like a gold mine for people who love travel because you can mix things up a little and be with people that you really enjoy. And you more or less, at a certain point, like the only time I totally agree with you about the type A thing, the only time the real type A person works is if nobody else cares and they're willing to go along. But there are all these different combinations of friend groups that travel well together. And when you can find that, definitely hold on to it.
Yeah, I'm not a stereotype type A. I think people probably listen, they probably would figure that out, but I have type A tendencies within me. And so when somebody tries to take over everything, when everybody else is kind of being democratizing it and figuring it out, and then somebody else tries to do it, that's what really gets the type A in me to want to come out and do it. Of course I don't. And then I just don't travel with those people. I agree with you. These types of trips, I think, are opened up a lot in this community. A lot of people in the community we know travel together now. People who don't have families, or even people with families, they take adult trips, all kinds of stuff, and it really does open up some cool things that I think a lot of people don't know. And especially if you're just used to traveling with your family, it's fun traveling with kids. It's fun traveling with your spouse. But sometimes, getting out and just doing stuff with your friends is fun. Or sometimes within these trips, like you're doing, going to Universal. So we're so far into this, we have to talk about Epic Universe. I guess we'll talk about buy now, pay later, maybe at the end, or maybe that won't make it. But you just got back from a press whirlwind trip to Epic Universe's opening. And I went a few weeks ago for pass holder preview. So I got sort of the paying guest experience, and you got the hoity-toity pinkies up experience. And so I think between the two things, we know this better. And there are a lot of people, I always get crap for loving my roller coasters and my theme parks. And how does that tie into the travel stuff? But then I go meet people at meetups. Everybody wants to talk about roller coasters and parks, and especially in Orlando with theme parks, because I think a lot of travelers, they get exposed to this stuff. I know more people in the travel community that have been to Disneyland Paris than I do anywhere else, or Tokyo Disneyland or whatever. So they're willing to do this if it's special. It doesn't mean that they're obsessed with Disney like us, or theme parks like us. And Epic Universe is going to be the first park to launch in the age of social media, the first new park in Orlando since '98, the first major theme park in the United States since 2001. And you're already seeing the hype everywhere. I feel like this is probably on everybody's radar already.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely like seeing the commercials all over the place. You're seeing a lot of Epic Universe commercials. I know you said this, Shawn, but I got to say it myself. Universal Orlando invited my travel agency, Travelmation, to send someone to their media event. Travelmation sent me. So thank you to both Universal Orlando and to Travelmation for hosting. Universal paid for my flights, which is something I've never done before. And that was, speaking of control freakness, I got my flight information 2 days before I was actually supposed to fly out. So that was a little nerve-wracking. Did I have a backup flight? Yes, I definitely had a backup flight because I wasn't sure they were going to come through or whatever. They paid for my hotel, Stella Nova, which is a Prime Value Resort at Universal Orlando. And then we had 2 days to explore the parks. It's very interesting being on a media event. It is completely not a realistic experience for, it's exposing people to the park, but it's publicity. It's not free publicity, because I just said they paid for all my stuff, but it's publicity for Universal Orlando. And I know you're a little bit curious about what these media things look like, and maybe some people want some behind the scenes. So ask me anything and I will disclose what I can, which is pretty much everything, I think.
Well, I think in the Miles and Points community, there's a lot of chatter over the years specifically, but maybe more than in other communities, about how you can be influenced by doing stuff like this. I've done stuff with Hyatt and Hilton and IHG, and I've disclosed all of that. I've had the opportunity to meet with executives and have them pitch me on why Hilton has 18 million brands and all of this other stuff. And it really has been valuable to me to be able to share that stuff. It gives me valuable insight. One way that a potential negative is that it could influence you. I guess there are people out there who could take that free trip and then just say the best things ever, even if they're not true. I think that you and I have both kind of have a track record of doing this for many, many years. And so I trust that that's the case. But let's start with this. What was your agreement with them for how you would cover this? And you did sort of go as a travel agent, but this event was also for influencers, for media. Everybody was sort of mixed together, right? But was there any expectation on how you would talk about Universal?
Honestly, I'm like trying to think about, like, there was nothing. They didn't have me sign anything. I mean, the way it worked was, and I found this out later, like the way it worked was the CEO of Travelmation submitted my name, and then I got an email, and then I was emailing this guy. I didn't find out until the last day of the event that this dude was like really high up in Universal. Like he's like really high up in Universal PR, and he was just talking to me about like my flights and my itinerary and stuff. They never said only say good things. Like I didn't have to sign anything about, I didn't have to hide anything. They didn't even, which I was surprised by. Disney is very clear that when, I've been on Disney media things before a long time ago, but I've also been on Disney things where like anytime you go backstage in Disney, which is basically like when you go to the place where it's like cast members only, team members only, if we're talking about Universal, Disney is like super, do not take pictures back here. You cannot take pictures back here. Universal didn't even tell me anything like that. So they were like very open about what, if they had a problem with what was going to be said, they didn't tell us like not to mention. So for example, Epic Universe, it's a new theme park. With new theme parks, attractions are breaking down all the time. Some of them broke down while they were like trying to show them off to us. Obviously Universal trying to put their best foot forward. At no point was anyone like, don't hide that, we're having reliability issues. So it was very open. And yeah, it was a weird event to be a part of because there was like, I met a writer from Fortune. I met a couple people from like TV affiliates in Florida. I walked by Brooke Lopez and Tony Baxter. So for those of you who don't know, Brooke Lopez and his brother Robin Lopez are gigantic twin centers who play in the NBA, and they're both huge theme park fans. Don't know why he was there. He wasn't wearing the same credential as me, so maybe he was there as a guest. But Tony Baxter, who is a legendary Disney Imagineer engineer who helped design the rides, he had the same lanyard as I did. So I was like, it was just a weird conglomeration of people. And then you could tell that some people are like definitely TikTok influencers. Did I tell you on Disney Deciphered that I met this guy? His name is, I'll give him a shout out because he was really nice. His name's Merrick Hanna. And he told me, I was like, oh, so what do you do? And he's like, I do robot dances. And I have gotten very good at doing robot dances that look like animatronics. So his whole entire page is him doing robot dances of animatronics, which is, I'm just like,
it's amazing.
2025.
Yeah, social media and just the niches that we think that we make niche content, and then you look at that. Of course, it starts out as niche content, and then it just blows up. So he probably has millions of followers or whatever. Who knows? But I think that these are the right kind of things. And I should point out that, in this age of influencers and people being corrupt, and there is a lot of corruption in the Miles and Point space. Vegas, I cover, there's a lot of pay for play. There's a lot of people taking free stuff in order to promote stuff, lack of disclosure. These are how traditional media events have gone for a long time. Traditional media goes to these events. Nobody talks about the fact that they often get their stuff paid for. And sometimes they don't. Sometimes the big media agencies pay for all their own stuff and smaller creators can't do it. But the correct thing is they're not asking you to say anything. When I went with Hilton, when I've done stuff with Hyatt, they didn't ask me for anything. There was no agreement as to what I would say. Now, obviously, if you don't say nice things, maybe they won't invite you back. But that's sort of the basis for all of this. And I think that that's important to know. I didn't see a ton of complaints about the coverage of Epic Universe. So, let's talk about that. What was the coolest part of the media experience before we talk about the park and our thoughts there? I saw a video of them cooking up tomahawk steaks in the middle of Darkmoor in front of Frankenstein's castle. That looked pretty cool, but I know you didn't say you ate a lot, but what was the best overall, coolest experience that will never be replicated for a normal park guest that you got to see?
All right. Put a pin in that. Merrick Hanna, 17.4 million subscribers on YouTube. I assume he has more on TikTok. And another random thing I want to tell you, Shawn, that was really scary to me is I met this woman. We were in the Ministry of Magic, which is the new Harry Potter land. And we were trying to do, they gave us one. Oh, yeah. So Universal also gave us stuff. So they gave us the power bands, which is kind of like a magic band that you can use in Super Nintendo World to play the Nintendo games. Really fun. Kids are going to really enjoy it. You can punch question mark blocks and get coins out of it and stuff like that. That's a lot of fun. They gave us that. They also gave us a wand for Harry Potter, and myself and this other woman, we were trying to do spells, and it wasn't working. And I was like, "Do you want me to take a video for you?" Because I could tell, you could tell who are the influencers because she has a camera or whatever. And so I took a video of her, but she couldn't get the spell to work. So I'm sure she didn't use that video. This is the scary part. Okay. I opened up YouTube this morning. I didn't introduce myself to her. Didn't know who she was. I opened up YouTube this morning and I now know that her channel is called The Crystal Palace. And it was at the top of my recommended videos. I'm just like, I talked to Leslie about this, my co-host from Disney Deciphered, and she's like, I think that they like geolocate you by your phones or something like that. And I was like, what is happening? I'm going to get a flip phone. That was super scary. It was like a surreal experience. Her channel seems pretty good, by the way.
Yeah, I have a friend that works in advertising. A shout out to her channel. But yeah, the amount of ways that they're tracking us and just actually proximity tracking when you're in proximity to somebody, that's very clear. So if you go hang out in the bar with a friend, you too might start seeing the similar ads there. And there's all kinds of cross-pollination, and AI is making it even better. Not even up on the latest with all of it.
Depending on your...
better for their, on their side. I'm sorry. Yes, you're correct. Worse. But it's bad. It's bad. And, we used to think that people the phones were listening to us and that's how they figured stuff out. And the way it's been explained to me is the phones don't have to listen to you. They don't have to listen to you. They already have so much other data that they're using that they're doing it. And I've had similar experiences, and it's very nutty. People should really kind of open their eyes up to the way that they're tracking. And I have been considering the same thing. I don't really love it at all. And the thing is, if you want to participate in the world in 2025 with a smartphone, it's almost impossible to avoid. We're not talking about bad actor apps or, spyware. We're talking about the Facebooks of the world, the Twitters, all the apps you use, all the Google apps, all these apps are tracking you, and they're all kind of talking together. So there you go. But that's good though. So you meet your favorite influencer out in the wild. You don't have to share information. You go home. I should just go start out meeting everybody. And then the first time they pop up YouTube, it'll be MTM Vegas.
Yeah, you'll be there. MTM Vegas, MTM Travel is going to be right there. So that was a major aside, but I did want to point that out just because it just, like you said, it's just crazy how connected we are in a good way, but then also in some subtle ways that we couldn't imagine. So to answer your question, the coolest thing about being at a media event, the first thing is, even though I don't do this stuff so much anymore, what they do is, because there's a lot of traditional media there, they set up all these interviews so you can interview people. So if you're a food blogger, you can talk to the chefs. If you just are really into theme parks, you can talk to the people who design the theme parks. So I went on this attraction called Monsters Unchained, which is in Dark Universe, which is the monsters themed land at Epic Universe. And I love that attraction so much that I was like, maybe I want to interview someone for this, even though I don't have, when I did this in 2017 or whatever for Toy Story Land, I actually interviewed Jordan Fisher, who you may know as a singer, but I interviewed him many years ago about Happily Ever After, when that was a new fireworks thing at Walt Disney World. That's because at the time I was writing for Traveling Dad, and I was writing up an article for them, and I figured I could use some pull quotes from him. Well, fast forward to 2 days ago, I love that attraction so much. I saw that there were interview opportunities with the creative director. And so I just did a quick 7-minute interview with her, just talking to her about animatronics and theming and what's your favorite part of the ride? What are some of your influences and stuff like that? And I just recorded and uploaded that to the Disney Deciphered Patreon. Really cool to just, imagine. I think you would have loved that, Shawn. Actually, I thought of you when I was doing that interview. I was
you never sent it to me. You could have sent it to me. I'm not in your Patreon.
I just got home, okay? I told you yesterday after we recorded Disney Deciphered, I passed out for a 2-hour nap, okay? So I'm going to send it to you. Or you could subscribe to my Patreon. No, I'm just kidding. You don't need to. I will send it to you. But no, what I thought of though was, this is actually what I thought. I was like, not only would Shawn love this, but Shawn would be better at this because you know so much more about the theme park history and just, you're an even bigger nerd about that stuff. And so having that kind of access to creatives is really great, because those are the people, she's the creative director. So yes, we talked a little bit about the queue of that attraction is amazing. We talked a little bit about the science behind, how many people do you need in this room and how do you decide where to put the we talked a little bit about that, but that's what like the penny pushers are more worrying about. She's mostly worried about like, how do I make this look really cool? And it's really great to talk to creatives and just to hear like their vision for things. Cause like, yeah, of course they want it to be successful, but like they don't care about the money, right? That's what Universal corporate cares about. They care about making the best attraction possible. So that was really cool. That's great access, like as media actually doing a job and like interviewing people. I mean, I find that fun and informative for me. It's like just fun as a nerd. And then, as you mentioned, they were grilling tomahawk steaks in front of a fire pit in front of that same attraction, which is Frankenstein's Manor. And I did not eat a lot because I was riding a lot of attractions that I was worried were going to make me sick. I did have the tomahawk steaks. They grilled it, then they cut it, and then they took like for every single piece of steak, they took a huge pat of butter, and then while it was still hot, they just dropped it on top, and then they just let it melt all over before they sliced it up for us. My gosh, that it was one of the best steaks I ever had. Like it tasted good, the environment was amazing. So that whole party, the night before Epic Universe opened, the media was invited, but there was like 10,000 people in the park for just this party, and just like enjoying Epic for one night. It felt like what I imagine people can like buy out theme parks for corporate events. I imagine it was like that, except for some reason they let me be there. So that was a pretty cool experience. Last funny thing about the tomahawk steaks is I was in line. They're like, the person at the was managing the line was like, "Oh, if you we ran out of veggies here, so if you want veggies, go to the other line." And I was like, "Veggies? Who needs that?"
I mean, it looked amazing. I'm so glad that you got to do that and that it was as good as it looked to me. Because I appreciate it. It was like, oh my God, tomahawk steaks cooked out here in front of the castle. Like in this, I mean, this would be an amazing. And I agree with you. Like the times I've done press events on a personal level, because we are nerdy about this sort of stuff, especially on the travel side. I do like that nerd. I love talking to the Hilton executives about nerdy aspects of their brands and just those more casual conversations. And then obviously the over the top experiences that you get are always fun. And, it's a great reason to do it. One of the reasons I stopped even trying to be a theme park influencer or Disney influencer, and I flirted with, doing a podcast with my buddy Dave, who is a huge coaster enthusiast like me, doing it for fun. And I may do that at some point, but it just took so much of the fun out of it. Covering Disney sucked all of my joy of Disney out of it, going to the parks. Now I don't have to worry about, I don't want to have to tell you about this rule or that rule. And that's what you do such a great job as a travel agent in Disney Deciphered. And so I don't do all those things in order to get the payoff like you do. And so well-deserved on that. But let's talk about the park really quickly from a perspective of somebody who's been to Disney World, they traveled, they like theme parks. Epic Universe promises to be the epitome of 2025 themed entertainment, which I talked a little bit on Disney Deciphered, sort of the evolution of themed entertainment and these lands. And Universal really drove things forward with their first Harry Potter land at Universal's Islands of Adventure. And these ideas of these mega lands all around one IP. And that's what Epic Universe is. There's 4 of these lands: Super Nintendo World. You have Monsters. I forget what the name of the land officially is.
Dark Universe.
Dark Universe. Thank you.
I got the copy. I got the Universal copy right here.
Then you got. I'm just gonna nickname them all. So then you got the fake France with the magic going on, which is Harry
Ministry
Potter.
of Magic.
Then you got the Dragonland, Isle of Berk. There you go.
That one you know. That one's the best. So you know that one.
I know that. But so these are all How to Train Your Dragon, Harry Potter, the Universal Classic Monsters, and then Super Nintendo World. And then in the middle is Celestial Park, which they say they're putting the park back in theme park, as Joe mentioned yesterday. But this has been their tagline forever. And I guess at the media event, they told you a million times. They delivered on this. And there's a few criticisms of some areas where the budget got cut back. But from what they set out to do to bring this new era of themed entertainment, what they believe is where themed entertainment is in 2025, these big, massive, immersive lands, all tied around to bring you into the things in a way that hadn't really been done before. And this is the only park built from the ground up that really does it everywhere.
Yes, I agree. I was thinking about it more after we had our conversation yesterday, because we were talking a little bit, not to get too into the weeds, but we were talking a little bit about how the future is that things are going to be based on IPs, like on just the easiest way to say it is like movies and media that already exist, which is true. But I was thinking about it more after, and I was thinking about when Star Wars Galaxy's Edge first opened in Disney World. even people, and we both agree that it could have been done better, but it's still pretty amazing. Everyone I know who's gone there, even if they don't give a crap about Star Wars, is like, this is really cool. I get why people who enjoy this would like this. And for my kids, what it made them do is it actually made them want to watch Star Wars. I was thinking about it more Epic Universe, and what I think they've done an amazing job of is every single land you walk into, like you could not give a crap about Harry Potter, but you feel like you're walking into France. You might not even care about fantasy things and dragons and stuff like that, but when you walk into the Isle of Berk, you're like, oh wow, this is like, it's just, I feel like I'm walking into a different world. Because they've been able to create these worlds, I think it's going to have a feedback loop effect, right? So if I already like How to Train Your Dragon, when I go there, I'm going to like it even more. If I don't care about How to Train Your Dragon, in fact, I'll tell you, I was like hanging out with a couple of pretty high level Travelmation people and at the party, and we went to Albert, and I was like, have you guys seen How to Train Your Dragon? And they're like, no, but I think we will now. So like it works that way as well. So I think anyone who goes to this theme park, like if you're getting dragged to this theme park, you can still just marvel at like, this is really cool. The same way, I mean, it's crazy, right? Who knows? 200 years from now, theme parks like this, that might be the Eiffel Tower equivalent of what we see these days, you know, which I know it sounds like blasphemy right now, but like this is the technological wonders of our day. Whereas like Statue of Liberty, Eiffel Tower, like these iconic landmarks, like in that date, the pyramids is a great example, right? Those were iconic landmarks of those days. Yes.
You're out on a limb here. You're out on a limb here, Joe. I'm sorry. Not even I would go there.
But can you imagine like thousands of years from now, people are like, what was this? So anyway, I do feel, I know that sounds crazy, but these are our like scientific and technological masterpieces. Maybe it won't be the same when you don't have like the actual attractions running, but I think it's just really impressive. It's a testament to the human ingenuity and spirit and ability to make money. Should definitely add that part in there.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. And this is not just Universal. It's not just Disney. It's everywhere. And it's, for example, I think there's a Top Gun experience that just got announced for Las Vegas this week.
What?
Universal's, yeah, it's going to be a fully immersive, supposedly Top Gun experience. You have Horror Unleashed, Universal's Halloween Horror Nights full-time sort of thing going on, in Vegas, opening up in a few months. You have Universal Kids, a smaller, heavily themed park. So I think this is really the future of entertainment in general. It's what the populations want. And you have a whole park now built just for that. So Epic Universe is never going to be a park that you take little kids to. It's never going to replace something like Magic Kingdom for nostalgia too. And we talk about all this new tech and all this hot newness and everything that we love with screens and technology and pushing the limits, but there is a certain nostalgia at Disney. But I think there is a lot of people who are looking for something more advanced and then who just enjoy this stuff, whether it's themed entertainment or they're just somebody who living in 2025 who likes cool stuff, who isn't necessarily into the sort of old school theme park storytelling. I think this park works well for them as well. I personally think all the lands are great. We talked on the other show. I really recommend going and listening to Disney Deciphered. We go in depth on the park so you can find out what our favorite rides are, what they're not, some of the debates Joe and I had about overall quality and some of the complaints we had because it's not perfect. But all I can say is I went to the park, Joe. I stayed on property. I went to the park an hour before it opened because I had early entry as a hotel guest. I ended up at the park till an hour after close because there was so much I wanted to see at dark that I couldn't see when the park was open. I just had the best day. And I wasn't with anybody. I was by myself. There was times where, I was hot or cranky waiting in lines by myself, bored, out of my mind. But I just had the best day. If you like themed entertainment, this is definitely should be on your radar. And Universal as a player should be on your radar. You mentioned Universal Osaka, another incredible park. If you're ever in that area, worth a day to visit that for sure.
Yeah, it's a beautiful park. I think the one shout out I'll give is the central area, which is just this beautiful area with fountains and all these LED lights. And as we were recording yesterday, Shawn, we didn't know, but we now know, even though they're not going to do a nightly fireworks show, they're going to do a fountain and light show akin to the Bellagio, which we joked about yesterday. The fountains give that vibe, but to the next level. I remember when I first saw the Bellagio fountains, I was like, and I feel like everyone can appreciate stuff like that. Like, you don't go to Las Vegas and not appreciate a show at the Bellagio fountain. They're just taking that to the next level in Celestial Park. And I would say that for even if you're the person getting dragged along, if you are the parent who's just going because your kids want to go, you will enjoy Celestial Park. It's a beautiful place to hang out, especially when it's not 95 degrees. Like at night, it's beautiful. And I never do these, but I was like this close to posting a video of just the fountains going and saying your moment of Zen. This close. That's how nice and relaxing it was. I still
couldn't do it. Couldn't get yourself.
I couldn't do it, but I was close.
Well, the Zen that comes from those fountains is when you're during the day and the sun is beating down on you and you can get really close to them, and there's spritz that comes off of them, the mist that comes off of them. I walked by them several times during the day because I had an okay day. I mean, it got to be like 90 in the afternoon, which is pretty hot. So there was a couple hours that were bad, but because it was still, I don't know, shoulder season, not full summer, the night times, the mornings were nice. And as soon as the sun wasn't beating down, it was sort of cool and it was okay. But I did that with the water, and there's an absence of shade. That's been a complaint of the park. Maybe some of the landscaping will grow in, but it is beautiful. And yeah, it's a great place to relax. Incredible restaurants. We talked a little bit about this on Disney Deciphered. The theming in all the restaurants is incredible. So the whole Celestial Park area, even if you're not a rides person, is a great place to hang out, to drink, to eat, to shop. Beautiful shops as well, all themed to the hilt. So if you're that kind of Disney person, or you're that kind of person who takes other people to the park and they go ride all the rides and you kind of sit on a bench, there's a lot to do here as well in that realm without getting on rides. I mean, the problem in 2025 is it costs so much money to build this stuff. And this is the problem that Disney has, everybody has. It costs them $400 or $500 million for an attraction. We're not getting a lot of new stuff that's just, smaller and atmospheric. So you only have these 4 lands. You have, a total of 11 rides. So the capacity in this park, if it's packed, is going to be rough. But good on Universal. They seem to be opening with lower capacity. Opening day, you would expect them to be overrun, but they actually limited capacity so much. They're really trying to manage the message that goes out on social media and goes out. They don't want one of these disasters. And I think this company's, I said this on Disney Deciphered. I almost got kicked off the show by Joe, but I think certainly Universal is playing at the same level as Disney. And I think they're actually playing a level above with everything that they've done in the last 10 years. Well, everything. Almost everything. I take that back. They did Jimmy Fallon in the last 10 years. They did some bad stuff in the last 10 years.
Fast and the Furious. Yeah. Okay. I think where Universal has the edge on Disney right now is just execution. I think it is so smart. Like, they saw when Disney opens new things, and when you open a new thing, things are going to go wrong. It's better to have things go wrong for less people than, because they got a little bit of flack yesterday on social media because the Battle of the Ministry, which is the Harry Potter ride, it was down like all morning. It didn't open till like mid-afternoon. I actually had a friend who was there at the park when it opened and waited the whole morning in a broken queue for a broken attraction. And so people were grumbling about that, but everywhere else, it was like 15-minute waits max. Like 35 was the highest I saw at the Mario Kart attraction. So I think not operationally, but they're executing in a smart way that is managing the PR. And I think that will really help them in the long run. So it's just a testament to like being smart about how you execute things. It makes a big difference. They have the same problems that Disney has when they're opening things, but they're just managing it so much better right now. And I think that's going to give them a real edge in the long run.
Yeah, so if you like going to a park, drinking beer, this park has you covered. If you like those sort of big over-the-top rides that are heavily themed, you got that. If you want some great coasters, Stardust Racers is an amazing set of racing coasters, probably the best coasters in Orlando, in my opinion. A great family coaster in the Magic Dragon section of the park. So there's just a lot there, and there's a lot for everybody. You don't, from the miles and points perspective, from the travel hacking perspective, one of the greater moves over the last few years has been to stay at one of the top end Universal hotels that also gives you Express Pass. Those Express Passes do not work at Epic Universe. So that option still goes if you want for Universal Studios and for Islands of Adventure. Epic Universe is going to be separate for that. So Express Pass is really expensive. I was looking at VIP tours. They're up in the 400s, but that could be a fun day, I guess, or 4 hours, and then you get your Express Pass the rest of the day. So there's some options. If it's going to be busy, I would say if you have the money and or you can hack this in a certain way. Mark used Capital One miles to do a VIP Universal tour with his son last year, so he was able to pay cash but also not pay out of his pocket. I think that trying to avoid some of these lines would be good. I will say Harry Potter broke down almost the entire day I was there. I did not get to ride it, and here I am telling you what a great park this is. I don't think that ruined my day. Now, if Monsters Unchained was broken down, I would have cried, and I think this is another reason to go to. Some people are calling Monsters Unchained the best dark ride ever made. I would put it in the top 2, but it's not quite my top one. Just go for these rides. Super Nintendo World takes my breath away every time I walk in there. We talked on the show yesterday how the Paris that they recreated in the Harry Potter section makes Epcot's French Pavilion look a little bit not great in comparison. It's just, and it's not that Epcot is bad, it's that this is so over the top. Well done. Probably the most detail ever put into recreating something in a theme park. And then Isle of Berk, and you said this yesterday, and I agree with you. It's the best land in the park. I just said all these incredible things about all those other lands, and yet Isle of Berk, you don't have to know how to train your dragon. You just go in there. The kinetic energy is great. The colors, the atmosphere. You can meet real dragons. I mean, even the food places in there with all the themed food and all of that. Like, this is a place to go that you'll want to see. I think you'll want to see it. If you're just somebody who has casually enjoyed Universal Disney parks as you travel, I think you're going to want to see Epic Universe. And I do think it's the best Universal park in Orlando, as much as I love some parts of the other parks, but none of them can compete on this level just because this was built by Comcast with their vision in 2025. And well done, top to bottom.
Yep, totally agree. If you get a one-day ticket to Universal, like, people go to Florida for work all the time, Orlando for work all the time. Most people are getting a one-day ticket to the Magic Kingdom just because, like, they got to see the castle or whatever. So if you're doing Disney, you're going to do that. But if you want to do something at Universal, I would definitely say get your one-day ticket for Epic Universe. Skip the other two parks. Some amazing rides in there. Velocicoaster, Hagrid's, obviously. I'm still...
Joe doesn't like it. Joe can't.
No, I was going to say,
does
the Jurassic Park water ride still exist?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. It's still there.
I still love the Jurassic Park water ride from my youth. And so there's some good rides there, but Epic Universe, that's where you want to spend your one day if you're going to be at Universal. And I hate to say this, if you're indifferent, like, you don't need to see the castle, maybe I would flip a coin. Just Magic Kingdom right now, it's like cultural cachet, right? So that's why I would flip a coin in terms of just pure. I mean, this is the brand new hotness right now. So that's why you got to go to Epic Universe.
But truthfully, and let's be honest and truthful, Joe, out of our hearts, everybody already knows. If you want to go see a castle, I know it's not as impressive, but park-wise, you're going to Disneyland. I mean, I don't think that that's the East Coast versus West Coast bias. It really is amazing to me when you talk about, from anybody east of the Mississippi, how Disney World is that thing. But if you're from the West, the OG, the original, is the best. And I mean, okay, we're not gonna get into this, but
we're getting on a huge tangent.
But Magic Kingdom isn't worth going out of your way for as a park when there's a much better version of that park in the United States, would be my argument. And I would go to Epic Universe.
Yeah, no, I was saying if you're there for work. Yeah, I mean, I'd probably say, like, yeah, I'd lean Epic Universe for now. Just my last random aside, and this is only for your theme park nerds out there, since everyone else already tuned out. I had a client today text me that his wife, they're regular Disneyland goers, his wife said they like Walt Disney World better. I was a little surprised.
I could see it. But do they like Magic Kingdom better than
that's
Disneyland?
a good point.
I think that's the big question.
The resort overall, you can see how the resort overall is like it's a more of a vacation experience than if you're at Disneyland. But yeah, good point.
All right, and this is my last nerdy point. If we were boiling it all down, and Magic Kingdom aside, I do think, I mean, it's just hard to compare a park that has Pirates of the Caribbean and Haunted Mansion and all these classic nostalgic things. But there's a lot of people who don't know that nostalgia, who don't think it's all weird, quite honestly, who think people who like that's weird. I don't think Epic Universe is going to have that same problem. I think people are going to be, these IPs are relevant, the tech is there, Universal backed away from the screens that they use on a lot of their rides, so physical animatronic. I mean, that Monsters Unchained has probably 20 animatronics in it. It is just, oh my God, I can't talk about how good that ride is. And so,
I mean,
yeah,
you
on
just
that
see
level,
you see
I
this
think it's
stuff
good.
and you like it looks real. It's just wild.
Yeah, they did an amazing job. And to your point, the other Universal parks have a mixture of the old and the new, but some lower quality old stuff. And so I would just say, like Disney versus Universal in Orlando, you have Epic Universe. Put Magic Kingdom aside, I do think Epic Universe is a better park than Epcot. I think it's a better park than Hollywood Studios and Animal Kingdom. I know you could debate Epcot, and I did say this on the show yesterday. Epic Universe really is the Epcot of Universal because it has better rides and stuff, but that Central Park is designed for festivals. It's designed for eating and drinking. It's beautiful in the same way maybe Epcot is, except it's not so big in size. And it has fountains. Epcot lost its fountains, and you can find them over at Epic Universe, so that's good too.
Yeah, tough to argue with right now. We'll see. We'll see how things shake out in the end. But definitely, Universal's winning 2025.
I've been forced to be in the position of the Universal defender against, not forced, I've chosen to. Because I really am impressed. I never was a huge. I grew up with Universal Studios Hollywood in the same way I grew up with Disneyland. So I'm very old with this brand. My dad worked as a security guard at Universal Studios in the 1960s, if you can believe that or not, right when the tram tour started. I know a lot about the company. I did not like what they were doing for many, 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 many years with all these screens, simulators, and I'm just so happy to see Disney have a huge competitor, the themed entertainment space. And did you see this? We will close with this. The company that announced Disney Abu Dhabi just announced that they're expanding their Warner Brothers Abu Dhabi park to include the biggest Harry Potter land ever, including 4 to 6 attractions completely indoors. So Morale, the company that owns Yas Island, all this stuff there, they're bringing Disney and essentially Universal, at least Harry Potter, to there. So everything in Abu Dhabi, you talk about Orlando, Abu Dhabi is going to be the new Orlando, and it's fascinating to see all these IPs, the mix-ups, how they get used in different places all around the world, and just also we could use our imagination.
And you were poo-pooing my pyramids comment, Shawn.
I think we'll leave it there. See, we have a different audience in this show. We don't have the typical Disney audience that would go crazy for saying anything nice about Abu Dhabi. I think people who watch this show probably have been there or they have some sense of normalcy. Anyway, Harry Potter all over the place. Universal doing good. Magic Kingdom's not bad, Joe. It's okay. There you go. So, yeah, let us know.
High praise.
So that'll do it for us. Joe, where can people find you all over the interwebs when they're not watching this fine program?
You can find me at AsJoeFlies all over social media. I don't normally say this, but on Instagram, I put up a highlight for my stuff at Epic Universe, and I actually did have a short 4-second video of those tomahawk steaks that Shawn was talking about, if you want to see those. If you're looking to book a trip to Disney, Universal, cruise, anywhere, Joseph Chung at travelmation.net with an M, as in Mary. How about you, Shawn?
As you watch this, I am on my way to Europe. We'll be doing regular shows while we're there. So MTM Vegas, still doing shows over there. MTM Travel will be back next week with Mark talking about my trip, some of the stuff he's doing, some other insights along the way. You can find what we do at we don't do this thing at the end anymore. So I just look. You can find everything. Just search Shawn Coomer. You can find me everywhere. There you go. Talk to you guys next time.
See ya.